Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And we're going to continue talking about Alhambra Palace today. Remember, it's in Granada, Spain. It's an architectural gem, and it's an ancient engineering wonder. We did touch on the reasons why it's considered as such. It's great for architecture. It was built by the Moors a long time ago, so you can go check it out. It's a splendid example of Islamic art and Islamic architecture, so that's why we're describing it as a gem or a jewel, you could say.
Yeah.
And also, we talked about its hydraulic system there, how they bring water up on top of this hill where this thing is, how they did that a long time ago. It is amazing. It's a marvel of hydraulic engineering.
It really is. I think my favorite part of it is probably the fact that they had water flowing through channels in the floor to cool the place off. I think one of the things I'm most grateful for, Tom, is that I was born in an era in time when we had air conditioning. I hate to be hot. I grew up in the desert, and I just hate to be hot. So I'm grateful that we have the technology we have today. Now, back then, they had no electricity. There was no air conditioning. And they came up with this way to cool down the rooms in that palace. So if you were lucky enough to be born into a royalty or to be in an upper class, you had the advantage of having somewhat of a cooling system back then.
Exactly. And we're going to find out some more about the actual architecture of Alhambra Palace in today's lesson. So let's find out some more information about this wonderful place in Spain. Let's listen to today's lesson now one time. After you've admired the hydraulic engineering, take a walk around the grounds. The oldest part is the Alcazaba, or fort. Its structures are easy to see from any viewpoint in Granada. The Alcazaba provided protection and shelter from external attacks and was the main residence of the Sultan's family, acting as a small but luxurious royal city. The Nasrid palaces are some of the best examples of Islamic architecture. These three palaces include many stunning fountains, extraordinary courtyards and baths, arched doorways, marble floors, tile designs on walls and ceilings, and carved Arabic texts. Next to the Nasrid palaces is the Charles V Palace, named for the Spanish king and Holy Roman Emperor in the 16th century. After the Islamic realm ended, Christians built Renaissance-style buildings to expand the Alhambra. The two completely contrasting styles make this historic site exceptionally unique. This palace includes huge columns and a circular courtyard that allows people to look up at the fantastic blue Granada sky. It's not only the buildings but also the outdoor features that make Alhambra Palace special. The Alhambra's gardens come to life when they bloom in spring. The Generalife gardens and orchards have ancient trees, rose arches, rows of bushes, and lovely walking paths. The simpler Myrtle Gardens bushes surround a pool that reflects the palace's detailed arches. These gardens' designs show that Islamic garden landscaping is just as gorgeous as its ancient architecture. The Alhambra's grounds comprise 26 hectares, so allow at least 4 hours to see the gigantic attraction. Alhambra Palace is an excellent place to learn about the city's history while you admire the remarkable views.
Okay, folks, let's get started. This is day 2, and we're going to continue taking kind of a virtual tour of this Alhambra Palace, which is located in Granada, Spain, southern Spain. So after you've admired the hydraulic engineering, our author suggests that we take a walk around the grounds. The grounds are just the area of land that something occupies. Yeah, the grounds that something is built on is just the land surrounding it. Hydraulic, again, is what we refer to as some sort of science that happens when liquid moves in a confined space and there's pressure applied to it to get it to move around. And remember, the lions would shoot or spray water into the air, and then it would go into these channels in the floor, and that's how they cooled down the palace. So after we finished admiring the hydraulic engineering, which is really quite a feat, quite an achievement, now we're going to take a walk around the grounds, which are equally as impressive.
And it's a big place, so if you enjoy walking as a form of exercise, this is the place for you. So again, we talked about the hydraulic engineering there, how they cool the rooms of the building using water that is pumped up from below. It defies gravity that way. So after you admire the hydraulic engineering, take a walk around the grounds, which is basically the area there where all the buildings are. And the oldest part is the Alcazaba, or Alcazaba, as they probably say in Spanish. And that, of course, is also referred to as the fort, okay? So its structures are easy to see from any viewpoint in Granada. So if you're down in the city of Granada, you can look at this mountain in the distance, and you can see the structures of the Alcazaba, which is the fort. That makes sense. The fort should overlook the city in order to protect it.
Right, so its structures are easy to see from any viewpoint in Granada. So it's set in an area that's easily visible or something that's easily seen from anywhere in Granada if you're below. So the Alcazaba or Alcazaba provided protection and shelter from external attacks. We talked about how forts were built to protect the area, and they would station soldiers, military people in these forts. And as soon as an enemy came near, they would be attacked, and they could warn the rest of the city. External just refers to something that's outside something else. For example, I wanted to buy a new hard drive for my computer, but I wanted an external hard drive and not a hard drive that was internal or put inside my computer. So this external hard drive would sit outside my computer, and I would plug it into one of the slots in my laptop. So external attacks coming from outside that place, from enemies. And it was also the main residence of the Sultan's family. So the Sultan's family, who was the ruler at this point, they actually lived in the fort, where it was probably the safest for them to stay. Your residence is the place where you live. You could say, I wish I could invite you to my residence, but, we're restructuring, we're remodeling right now. A residence is just a person's home. It doesn't matter if it's an apartment or a huge palace or a castle or just a regular one-level family home. It's still someone's residence. That's where they live.
Right, and the Sultan, of course, is the leader. It's like the king in Islamic countries, like in Indonesia. I think my wife and I went to the Sultan's Palace in Yogyakarta there.
Cool.
They had an excellent tour there, and it was free, so I was quite impressed with that. But again, this is the residence of the Sultan's family. It's where they lived when they ruled Spain, or at least that part of Spain. And the Nasrid palaces are some of the best examples of Islamic architecture. So again, this was the Nasrid family or the Nasrid dynasty or whatever you want to call it. And of course, these are palaces there, all these buildings that are for the royal family. And they're great examples of Islamic architecture. Maybe you're not interested in Islam as a religion, but they certainly have some great structures with their mosques. You can see some great artwork there. So yes, indeed, you can see some examples of Islamic architecture. And these three palaces include many stunning fountains, extraordinary courtyards and baths, arched doorways, marble floors, tile designs on walls and ceilings, and carved Arabic texts. That's a lot of stuff to see in the grounds here, but of course you've got all the stuff you can check out. Stunning fountains. They're amazing fountains. You can take great pictures there, and there are courtyards there that probably have lots of landscaping and plants and stuff like that, and structures that you can also walk through, and baths. I don't think you can take a bath there, but you can see where they took baths back in the day. And also we've got arched doorways. A doorway, of course, is where you enter a building, but these are arched, which means they're kind of round on top, or at least they have some kind of beams or structures that come together at the top in order to support the top of the doorway.
Right, so if it's arched, it kind of looks like half of the letter M. That's an arch. Most of our doors are a rectangular shape, they're kind of squared off. But an arched doorway, like I said, is kind of taking half of the letter M, and that's the shape of an arched doorway. Marble floors are quite expensive. We have a lot of natural marble here in Taiwan because of Tailuge. Taroko Gorge has wonderful marble. So for most places, though, that aren't near natural marble, it's very expensive to have marble floors or marble walls. But they're awfully beautiful, and they are cooler in a hot area, hot kind of temperature. Tile designs, if you're into this kind of Islamic architecture, you know that they love tiles. So there are tile designs on walls and ceilings, and then they have the carved Arabic texts. Yeah, you can read some of this beautiful poetry that's carved into the walls. I've been impressed with that. To carve just means you make some sort of pattern or design into a hard, you're using a knife usually, or some sort of hard object that can carve into wood or marble or something that's very difficult to actually, manipulate with your hands. So, yeah, they've got a lot of carved text that you can read. That's part of their beauty and part of the architecture there.
You've got lots of carved Chinese texts at temples here in Taiwan.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar, except these texts there will be written in Arabic, which is a very unique writing system indeed.
Yeah,
okay, that brings us to the midway point in our lesson for today. Let's take a break right now and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的课程是4月5号 Unit2 Alhambra Palace.An architectural gem and ancient engineering wonder. 第一天课程里，我们认识到 Alhambra Palace 的一大特点和水有关，或更精确一点来说，和水利工程有关。早在1000多年前，水利工程就已经相当发达，让皇宫的王室贵族过着便利的生活，甚至于把水运用在皇宫的园林造景上。今天课文我们更进一步看到整个皇宫的历史。原来建筑物这些造景不但有伊斯兰文化的遗迹，也受到文艺复兴的影响。好，我们现在一起来看看今天课文的学习重点。请同学先看到第一段 Hydraulic Engineering， 请画起来，就是水利工程。再来，请同学特别注意到 HYDR 这个部分呢，请同学把这个字画起来。这其实这个字，同学如果在英文里面看到的时候，很多时候呢，它其实是跟水有关的。像譬如说，我们说有的人有脱水的现象 ，dehydrated， 前面呢是 DE 开头，后面呢 HYDRATED dehydrated。就是脱水的，所以我们知道说 HYDR， 请同学画起来，这往往都跟水有关，有助于同学以后看到类似有相关字根的单字，有同样字根的单字，会比较容易猜得出来这是什么意思。好，再来请同学看到第3个句子 Its structures are easy to see from any viewpoint in Granada， 就是这座皇宫它的建筑它的结构，其实在整座城市里面呢，不论你从哪个角度、任何位置 都可以看得到，因为皇宫是位在高处嘛。请同学把 from any viewpoint 画起来，这里所标示的就是从任何位置。那当然我们知道这个片语哦，像譬如说 from a different viewpoint， 从不同的观点来看。这个 viewpoint 其实也可以标示成是比较抽象了，人的想法，人诠释事情的角度。好，再来，请同学看到第4个句子。The Alhambra provided protection and shelter from external attacks. 那在这个地方，我们知道说，这边可以提供保护的作用，免于让这里在这里避难的人免于外界的攻击。我们要表示免于这个概念的时候呢，介系词是用 from， 请同学特别画起来。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're on day 2 of our travel unit, and we're focused in on a place called Alhambra Palace, located in Granada, Spain, the southern part of Spain. And when we left you, we were talking about the grounds there, what they look like, and how the royal family, the Sultan's family, actually lived in the fort. And that was a way of protecting them and keeping them safe from external attacks and enemies who wanted to kill them. Now, the Nasrid palaces are some of the best examples of Islamic architecture. So if you're studying that, maybe you're studying history or art appreciation, this might be a place you'd want to go and visit because there are great examples of Islamic architecture there. And we listed a couple. They have beautiful fountains. Their courtyards and baths are extraordinarily beautiful. They're stunning. They have arched doorways, marble floors, and of course, tile designs on walls and ceilings. And in amongst all of this, you'll find carved Arabic texts, which is a lot of their poetry and beliefs that are carved into the walls and floors.
Right, and of course, these are the Nasrid palaces. So next to the Nasrid palaces is the Charles V Palace, named for the Spanish king and Holy Roman Emperor in the 16th century, which would be the 1500s. So this is a palace dedicated to Charles V, and he was a Spanish king, a king of Spain, and he was also an emperor in the Holy Roman Empire, and that was back in the 1500s. Now, after the Islamic realm ended, Christians built Renaissance-style buildings to expand the Alhambra. Okay, so of course the Moors ruled Spain for quite some time, and eventually the Christians took over. And so the Islamic realm ended. A realm here is kind of like a certain world or kind of a government or a country or a kingdom or whatever, basically. So the realm of the Islamists ended there, if I can say, the Muslims, I suppose. And yes, they left, they went someplace else, and the Christians took over, and then they built some new buildings there. They were Renaissance-style buildings, and that's a period of history, the Renaissance, I believe, after the Middle Ages. Renaissance just means new birth, basically. And they did this to expand the Alhambra, to make it bigger, so you've got some contrasting styles there.
You really do. It's kind of cool. The Renaissance is frequently quoted as being like the 14th to the 16th centuries. There was a lot of art and literature that was being created at that point. It was kind of a cool period of history. So Renaissance. So they've got very different styles. If you check out the Renaissance style buildings as in contrast to the Islamic style, it's very different. It's kind of cool to have them together in the same place. If two things contrast, they're very different from each other, black and white. Those are good contrasting colors, we'll say. Or contrast in attitude. Someone can be very pessimistic and think, nothing ever is going to happen that is right. Everything is awful. And then you have your optimist, and that's a big contrast in attitudes. The optimist thinks everything's great. There's a lot of hope. So there are contrasting styles there, and it makes this historic site really unique, exceptionally unique, something that you don't often find where you have such big contrasts in style. This palace includes huge columns and a circular courtyard that allows people to look up at the fantastic blue Granada sky. Yeah, if you're ever in the desert or a desert area, like I'm from Arizona, even to have a cloud in the sky, we think that's so cool because we hardly ever have clouds. It hardly ever rains. And so every day is just blue, 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 blue. Here in Taiwan, if I see a blue sky, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But I grew up with blue skies every day. So it's nice to have a contrast sometimes. Circular means a circle in shape. It's a circle. It forms a circle. But circular is the adjective form.
I think most courtyards are rectangular or square in shape.
Yeah.
But this particular courtyard is circular. It's round. And because of that, I guess it allows you or lets you look up at the sky and go, wow, that is really a blue sky. I've never seen skies so blue before. Okay, moving on to the next paragraph here. It says, it's not only the buildings, but also the outdoor features that make Alhambra Palace special. So yes, you got the buildings and the outdoor features there, but if you go inside, you can see some great features as well. The Alhambra's gardens come to life when they bloom in spring. To bloom just means that flowers start to come out from their plants. This always happens in the spring, so we're always looking for blooming flowers. Like, I guess in February, you can see the cherry blossoms. They bloom in February, and various other kinds of flowers bloom at different times of the year.
And sometimes we'll use bloom as a noun, but we most often use blossom as the noun. So, yeah, blossoms bloom in spring. And they've got these gardens, which have kind of a weird pronunciation. It's Spanish, so it's Generalife. Gardens and orchards. Orchards are big pieces of land that have trees on them, but trees that produce something like fruit. I'm from a city where there are a lot of citrus orchards all around my house, so it smells good there. So they had these ancient trees, rose arches, rows of bushes, and lovely walking paths. Sounds like a really pretty area. The simpler myrtle gardens bushes, and that's the name of a particular garden there, they surround a pool that reflects the palace's detailed arches. So if you have really blue skies and the sun's right, the reflections off that pool are pretty spectacular, actually. So these are fun to look at, and also the garden's designs show that Islamic garden landscaping is how you arrange your yard or gardens, where to place trees and plants and flowers. That's landscaping. Landscaping there is just as gorgeous as its ancient architecture. So architecture is how you design your building, what it looks like, and landscaping is how you design the grounds or the land.
Right. Again, this stuff is all outdoors. I think I said it was indoors at first there, but it's actually outdoors. That's where gardens are and blooming trees and orchards and all that fun stuff. And there's a pool there. There's a fountain. Oh, there's just so much stuff to check out there. It certainly is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. And here in the next paragraph, it says, the Alhambra's grounds comprise 26 hectares, so allow at least 4 hours to see the gigantic attraction.
Wow.
A hectare is a unit of area. I believe it's 10,000 square meters, if I'm not mistaken. So it's got 26 hectares. That means it's really big. So you need at least 4 hours to walk around the place and some good walking shoes. Don't try to walk around the place in high heels. Your feet are going to kill you. Your feet will be killing you at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a big, big area to walk around. You might want to divide up your touring into 2 days, just to save your feet from killing. And don't wear high heels, ladies. Now, Alhambra Palace is an excellent place to learn about the city's history while you admire the remarkable views. There's so much history there. It looks like it's a fascinating place to go. And it's something that I'm going to put on my list of things to see, my bucket list.
Indeed, so you can probably make an arrangement with your travel agent for some kind of package tour that will take you to this place.
Go in the winter, though. It's hot in Spain.
True. Also, maybe during the winter is when there are fewer tourists, perhaps?
More tourists in Spain in the winter because that's the only time to go.
All right. All the Brits go down there to have some sunshine.
Sure.
So, yeah, you might want to ask your travel agent when the best time to go is and try to get some deals because traveling has become quite expensive now. So we wish you the best of luck. And that brings us to the end of our discussion of the Alhambra Palace. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
好，再来我们一起看到第3段。Alhambra Palace 很特别的是，不是只有伊斯兰的建筑特色，也有文艺复兴的风格哦。请同学先看到第一个句子 Next to the Nasrid Palaces is the Charles V Palace. 请同学特别注意，这里其实是地方副词的倒装句。前面 next to 是在标示位置的，就是在 Nasrid Palaces 皇宫这个皇宫建筑群的旁边是查理五世皇宫。好，那请同学特别注意到前面的 next to 是地方副词片语，那后面这个动词 be 动词有没有看到？它其实是用单数，为什么呢？因为后面 the Charles V Palace 才是真正的主词，我们用第三人称单数，所以动词用 is。再来，请同学看到第3个句子 The two completely contrasting styles make this historic site exceptionally unique. 那这两种截然不同的风格，好 completely contrasting 是对照的，差异很大就可以彼此对照比较的。To completely contrasting style 是截然不同的风格，请同学特别注意 contrasting 这个动词加上 ing 以后成为形容词的用法。再来，请同学特别注意到的是第4个句子。那下面呢有讲到 This palace includes huge columns and a circular courtyard. 请同学注意到 column 这个字呢，并不是我们在画表格的时候的栏位，而是指柱子。好，那再来，请同学看到第4段的第一个句子，这里有个句型，我希望你们特别注意。It's not only the buildings, but also the outdoor features that make Alhambra Palace special. 用到了 not only but also 这个连接词，它其实是双词连接词。什么叫双词连接词呢？不是单一一个字，而是2个部分组合起来 not only 加上 but also。 那此外，这个句子很特别的是，这里所用的呢是强调句，又或者有些句型的书会把它称为分裂句型。好，那是特别强调用 it 跟这个 that 中间所夹带的部分，所夹住的这个部分，这是我们要强调的，也就是不只是建筑而已，还有呢一些户外的景致，都让 Alhambra Palace 特别与众不同。所以这是作者想要让我们特别注意到，不只是建筑哦，因为前面都在讲建筑，还有户外的景致，这两者都让 Alhambra Palace 和其他的不一样。好，再来呢，请同学看到第5段的第一个句子，这个地方占地很辽阔，那 so allow at least 4 hours to see the gigantic attraction。 请同学特别注意的是，其实在 so 后面是一个祈使句，这里在建议读者至少留4个小时参观这个面积辽阔的景点。好的，以上就是我们针对第2天课文所做的中文讲解，谢谢大家。
That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. And if you go to Spain and check out this place, we hope you have a pleasant journey. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.